just over 32 points a game. On the other side, CP3's Suns are trying to avoid losing 4 straight games. Ugh, never thought about it that way. Joined by NBA analyst Chris Broussard. But still, is there more pressure on Giannis or Chris Paul tonight?
Oh, there's more pressure on Giannis. I think there's more at stake for Giannis. And I'm saying that because in Chris Paul's case, he is who he is. Now, I think there's a bump. I think there could be a bonus to Chris Paul's legacy if he were to pull this series out and win a championship. Yes, but he's still in the conversation of top 5 point guard all time with an 18-9 average. So anything else would be gravy to Chris Paul. Obviously, he wants that gravy to go on his resume. But when you talk about Giannis's resume, this is a guy who doesn't get his due. We just spent 20 minutes, it felt like, talking about the projection of Giannis potentially being the face of the NBA. Here's the problem. Forget face of the NBA, that's being ambitious. How about him just get his due as a 2-time MVP and a former Defensive Player of the Year? He still doesn't get the same reverence and respect you deserve for a guy who has that on his resume. So that's why this championship is so important. Because I talked to many champions, as you have, Chris Broussard, as you have, Acho. The one thing they all say in common is they can't take that away from you. Like everything else, we just had an off-mic argument about former MVPs, and I'm going to say it. Steve Nash, boy, people over here questioning your MVPs, big dog, but I got your back because my wife Canadian too. So I know that's how it goes. Every other award, we all get to the barbershop. Y'all do at least. I need to go. But all y'all get there and just stay up all times of the day and night arguing about who got this, who got that. Now, we try to argue championships, but the problem is you can't take that away. That ring is that thing. So in this conversation, Giannis needs it more than Chris Paul because it's going to add something to his legacy that's a void that is not necessarily the same for Chris Paul.
So I think the pressure is on Chris Paul tonight, and it's because of something you've now drilled into my head. Equity. Chris Paul has no finals equity, Broussard. He has no finals equity right now, Sel. Chris Paul's finals balance is sitting at 0. If he has a bad finals game tonight, we'll look at him like, man, he had a terrible series. He had 15 turnovers over the course of 3 games. He had a 10-point game. His stats diminished over the course of 4 consecutive games until he had a decent game 5. Chris Paul's finals equity is terrible. But Giannis's finals equity is through the roof right now. He gave you 2 40-point games. He gave you a 30-point game, gave you a 26 and 14-point game, played off a hyperextended knee and started off with a 20 and 17-point game. Giannis could literally go out, have 5, 5, and 5, and we'd be like, still having a great series. Whereas Chris Paul, let him have anything short of 20 points. Let him have upwards of 3 turnovers. Let him have less than 10 assists. And we looking at Chris Paul like, this is what you had to give us in the finals? Giannis is playing to a degree with house money right now. 2 40-point games back-to-back. He didn't do that all regular season. Playing with the hyperextended knee, already proven his toughness. Plus, just won a game on the road and is leading the series. He playing with house money. When you're playing with house money, you can afford to lose a hand or 2 because you'll still be up. But if you, Chris Paul, he done got beat down to his socks. They already took all this bread. Now we took his watch off at the table and was like, look, you just hold it as collateral. Chris Paul got more to prove tonight.
Man, I think Acho was a little hard on Chris Paul.
Yep.
But I do agree with you that there's more pressure on CP3. It's simple as this, guys. One of them's in a do-or-die situation. The other is not. Chris Paul can't live to see another day if he loses tonight. He has to win or he has lost his best chance ever to win a championship. Giannis can come out tonight, play great, play poorly, whatever the case. If they lose, he still got Game 7 to go to. And they know in the back of their minds in Milwaukee, we can win in Phoenix. We've done it before. So for that very reason, the pressure is on Chris. Also, Chris is 36. Giannis is 26. All right, even if Giannis loses this series, he's still got a decade left to win another championship or multiple championships. Michael Jordan hadn't won a championship at 26. Neither had LeBron or Shaq. All right, so he's got plenty of time left. And oh, by the way, over the course of that decade he'll have left, LeBron's going to retire, KD's going to retire, Kawhi's going to retire. Like, a lot of the people that are keeping him from winning rings will be gone. So Giannis has time. I agree with you, Acho, that obviously Giannis has been better. I mean, he's had the 2 historic 40-point games. He had the iconic block, the iconic alley-oop. Like, his stock has risen in these finals. But I don't think Chris has been nearly as bad as you say. I mean, he's averaging 21-9, 52% shooting. Last game, 21-11, 1 turnover, 10 points in the fourth quarter. He's had some bad plays, the bad game for a period, and then the foul on Giannis on the alley-oop. So he hasn't been as good as Giannis, but to say he's been horrible, I think it's a little far, but I'm rolling with you on the pressure.
No, I'm not rolling on the pressure, but I am rolling with Acho in terms of his exaggeration. He's giving Giannis a little too much of that sauce, and he's putting a little too much of that bad sauce on what we've seen from CP3. Let me be real. Giannis, imagine Giannis and the Bucks not winning this series. Imagine how all the conversation switches all of a sudden into, damn, all those points, and they were empty calories, because, look, he came up short. Imagine we start to look at, all of a sudden, the 4-6 record in conference final games that Giannis has put up so far in his career. Imagine we start looking at him in career record playoff series and say he's only 6-5 before this series. So there's a way where we can all of a sudden navigate back to where Giannis is not enough. We're not there now because they're up 3-2 in this series. But since they're up 3-2 and Phoenix is down 2-3, all of a sudden, here comes Acho, exaggerating and giving Chris Paul the business. Even though Chris Paul has played more minutes in this series than he did in entire postseason average, more points per game in this finals than the entire postseason, more assists per game in the finals than he did in the entire postseason average, higher field goal percentage and higher three-point percentage. Damn. I don't know sports that much, but if I were a smart man who had actually played, I would say that Chris Paul is being better in the finals than he was in the rest of the postseason. But that's not the narrative right now. Here's another narrative I want to throw out there why there's pressure on Giannis, because he doesn't want to go into the empty calorie conversation, and he also doesn't want to get into this conversation, because let's be real. We still one big toe of Kevin Durant away from not even talking about Giannis right now. I remind y'all that will come back up in the barbershop. I remind y'all, a lot of people are sitting there like, was this the easiest road for a champion in modern times? The most all-stars injured on that road to greatness, Giannis? And no one is talking dynasty right now for the Bucks, in part because people don't trust Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday as the number 2 and 3 to make this a dynastic team. So this is his Dirk Nowitzki year.